the beginning of the tribes, where they kind of originated from and from what seed. Abraham, if you'll notice as we go through, the Satan's attacks were basically on the people. This now it's going to go on to Abraham's seed and um, trying to knock them off base and things like that. And this is what we need to remember. Hey, Roxanne and JD and Kim. I know Kim's here. Um, just remember that, you have a very important part in these end times. And Satan, whatever, he is going to try and knock you off somehow. Just be prepared. Usually it's like an emotional response, or it goes into a financial thing. Hey Stacy, welcome back. I hope your company was awesome and you had a good visit. And I have just been getting a lot of revelations, and I'm trying to write these things down and get them into order and that clarity. So I know that we're going quickly. Whether this is just the time to prepare and get all that, because God always forewarns before he acts. So at this time, just getting down more of the benchmarks and what is to follow. But there's just a lot of them coming, and so it's like, there's so many, it's just like I really need to write them down and then go over on a video with that. And just, that's why it's really hard to write a timeline. I mean, there's a basic timeline, but there's things that come in with that. Like a picture says 1,000 words. So, hey, Paul. I got something in my throat. See who is all here. And it is armed and ready in here. I don't think those trolls will be coming back. So I'm going to go a little bit through chapter 11, and we'll kind of miss like, well, we could just go quickly through the generational thing, but the biggest thing that you'll need to get out of that is just, these characters, some of these characters are talked about also in the New Testament, and you'll recognize some of these, like Sirach, who wrote his own book, and those are in the Lost Books. So it's really interesting if you do go through the Lost Books to find them and see what they were saying and stuff like that. But, and again, you have to remember they're translated and transliterated, so be careful. All right, so we're gonna go through the Tower of Babel and then go on to Abraham. Okay, chapter 11 in Genesis, verse 1. And the whole world, the whole earth, well, this just is meaning in this regional area, was of one language and of one speech. So what was the original? Was it Hebrew? Because the Hebrews kept their language, and the other people, you have Spanish, you've got a lot of different languages in there. But they were one speech and basically one mind. And it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, or going eastward, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar. This is Babylon, the Babylonian area. Remember, you had Nimrod in here. And they dwelt there. And they said one to another, remember, said, speaking, words have a lot of meaning. So remember, when you're talking to people, words have a lot of power. And they said one to another, go to, let us make brick and burn them thoroughly. They didn't, they really wanted to do this quickly, raise this up because there was that flood. And they were afraid that something else was going to happen. So they're like, well, we can escape this and we can make our own way of worshiping God, but not God, Yahweh, their own God. And they had brick for stone and slime for mortar. Now, this slime is called bitumen, and it's over like in the like Dead Sea salt area, and it's this really hard mortar that is like almost impossible to like break. So they're getting these bricks. Think of think of what is going on now. You know, they are setting up, they've been setting up for a very long time in this new world order scheme, and everything's starting to come into play where everyone really can see it now. But in Nimrod's time, it was like they were scared to death that something bad was going to happen, but they were evil. You know, they just, they weren't worshiping God at all. Okay, and they had brick for stone and slime had for mortar. So instead of being sun-dried like normal, they were sticking them in the fire, and as fast as they could get out building this. And they said, go to, let us build a city and a tower whose top may reach unto heaven, and let us make us a name. So, you know, learning about Nimrod and the people that were in that area, you had, the Adamics in there, you had the different races, and also at that time, quite possibly, because when Abraham went into Canaan, there were already fallen angels there. So, and then we also saw that Ham went into those. So how many of the giants were helping with this and the stones and building that up? Okay, so let us make a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the earth. And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the children of men builded. The one thing that is really going to bring God down in the end, God tells Satan before he gets down here, touch not mine elect. Well, the two witnesses are also his elect. And when they get killed, just know 3.5 days later, Christ is right there. He's right in the clouds. You won't have to guess. He's there. And the Lord said, behold, the people is one. So look at us now. We're becoming one world order. And they have all one language. And look how it is very easy to interpret languages. I mean, you have apps for it. Just really becoming one mind. What, like in the end, as we go closer, it's going to be the economy. How are we going to be able to continue to do commerce? And with the way that our governments are printing money, that's going to all go away. And they're going to have a system that everybody can use, that it's fair. Well, maybe not fair, because America's really going to be knocked down to nothing. But the people inside it, I'll tell you, people like you are going to be strong and see through this. But there's going to be a lot of weak people who are just, falling all over themselves, not understanding that what is to come. Okay, and they have all one language, and this they begin to do. And now nothing will be restrained from them which they have imagined to do. So you had the fallen angels in there giving them information. You know, um, demonic worship and things like that. I mean, and Satan himself really had not been um, set to be in paradise yet. That happened when Christ was here. So Satan himself could have been right in that. Let us go down and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So, you know, they really brought attention to themselves. So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city. Okay, so, you know, we have all these, you know, different types of nations and people all scattered over the world. Was that when he did it? And their languages, and I'm thinking that's really when that happened. And because you get some really old ancient types of people that have, I mean, even now, you know, these tribes out in the jungle that, you know, haven't even seen people, and then, you know, it's just incredible that that could still happen. But a lot of these are being found in the Amazon because they're trying to clear that down and put, you know, get the resources and things like that, and just build, and you know how man does. Therefore is the name of it called Babel, because the Lord did there confound the language of all the earth, and from thence did the Lord scatter them abroad upon the face of the earth. So that was his way as far as saying they were all going to do it. That was like the punishment in itself. Their languages were scattered about, so they couldn't understand themselves. So words have a lot of meaning, especially, you know, when you have two or more gathered in God's name. You have the power there with you. And with these people that go against God, well, they actually get attention too, but in the negative sense. All right, so there's going to go into verse 10 quickly. I mean, these are the generations, but, you know, you'll remember them from the New Testament. Okay, so 10. These are the generations of Shem, and this is the whole book written about. Shem was 100 years old and begat Afrax 2 years after the flood, and Shem lived after he begat Afrax 500 years and begat sons and daughters. I mean, how many would he have? You know, they had the concubines and things like that. I mean, just like a tribe in itself. And Afrax lived 35 years and begat Salah. Now on Salah here, there's a note. And it says in Luke 3:36 says Canaan, but this was probably a gloss from the Septuagint and crept into the text. No second Canaan in Hebrews. So just take a note of that. When in Luke 3:36 it was Salah. And Afrax lived after he begat Salah 403 years and begat sons and daughters. And Salah lived 30 years and begat Eber, and these are the Hebrews. And Salah lived after he begat Eber 403 years and begat sons and daughters. And Eber lived 430 years and begat Peleg, and that's the division. That's when they started dividing. And Eber lived after he begat Peleg 430 years and begat sons and daughters. And Peleg lived 30 years and begat Reu. And Peleg lived after he begat Reu 209 years and begat sons and daughters. And Reu lived 230 years and begat Surach. So there's books the lost books or the apocalypse types of books, there's Sarach in there. So I mean, when you go to read it, just remember where he started, and you know what I mean. It's really interesting once you get the history and like, oh, that's that person. And Ru lived after he begat Sarach 207 years and begat sons and daughters. And Sarach lived 30 years and begat Nahor. And Sarag lived after he begat Nahor 200 years and begat sons and daughters. And Nahor lived 920 years and begat Terah. So this is where our Abraham comes in. And Nahor lived after he begat Terah 119 years, and he begat sons and daughters. Now remember also the fallen angels were here all through that time period, and so it's like how many of these fallen angels had polluted mankind. And Terah lived 70 years and begat Abram, Nahor, and Haran. These are the generations of Terah. So this is the bloodline. This is where Satan, like, there's that bloodline. Because he knew back in Genesis 3, I think it's 3:15, where it's like he knew that Christ was going to have a bloodline. And before he was really going after mankind, but now it's like Abraham. Okay, now these are the generations of Terah. Terah begat Abram, Nahor, Haran, and Haran begot Lot. So Lot was his nephew. And Haran died before his father Terah in the land of nativity, in Ur of the Chaldees. And this is like the west bank of the Euphrates. And Abram and Nahor took them wives. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, which is Sarah. Her name was changed. And the name of Nahor's wife, Milcah, the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah, and the father of Iscah. But Sarai was barren. She had no children. And Terah took Abram, his son, and Lot, the son of Haran, his son's son, and Sarai has his daughters-in-law, his son's Abram's wife, and they went forth from them from Ur to the Chaldees to go into the land of Canaan. And they came into Haran and dwelt there. So at this point, Abraham's about 70 years old. Terah is about 200, and they're settling in there. But and all these fallen angels and these giants really like to build big cities and things like that. Let's see. And the days of Terah were 205 years, and Terah died in Haran. Okay, so now chapter 12. Now the Lord said unto Abram, Get thee out of thy country and from thy kindred and from thy father's house unto a land that I will show thee. So this is the beginning of like the promised land. This is, just getting set, because after this you get the 12 tribes, And I will make of thee a great nation. I will bless thee and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse them that curseth thee. And in thee shall all families of the earth be blessed. It's because this is Christ's bloodline. So everybody is blessed through this one bloodline because Christ had come out from that. And that was our saving grace. So Abram departed as the Lord had spoken unto him, and Lot went with him. And Abram was 75 years old when he departed out of Haran. So, you know, he was 70, and when this idea came out, 5 years later, there they are, departing out. And Abram took Sarai, his wife, and Lot, his brother's son, and all their substance, and they had gathered, and the souls that had gotten in Haran. So they had concubines and people like that to help, you know, just with the chores and things like that. And they went forth to go into the land of Canaan, and into the land of Canaan they came. So at that point, to just look upon these cities that these giants built and just looking at it, and just, I don't know how long the fallen angels had stayed down there with them, but they were in there in Sodom and Gomorrah as well. So, you know, did they live down here on earth, or did they go up and down? I don't know. And Abram passed through the land into the place of Sikkim, unto the plain of Morah, and the Canaanite was then in the land. See, he discovered, looking down there they are. You know, I mean, it must have been just a sight to behold, you know. I mean, he already knew that it was there, but to like witness it, like, oh, we're supposed to, you know, later on people, you know, in the Bible were just like terrified. And the Lord appeared unto Abram and said, unto thy seed will I give this land, and there builded an altar unto the Lord who appeared unto him. So in these end times, we're going into biblical proportions like never before. So don't be surprised if you see an angel to lead, guide, direct, give you instructions what to do, when to do it. Because I know for me that's going to happen, and you're like me, so get ready. And he removed from thence unto a mountain on the east of Bethel, which was Luz before, and pitched his tent, having Bethel on the west and Hai on the east. And there he builded an altar unto the Lord, and called upon the name of the Lord. So Sikkim is the place of Abraham's first altar and Christ's first mission. Okay, so even Christ was in that area. Also of call, Satan knew the line of which the seed of Satan was coming into the world, and his aim at the whole human race. Now he aims at Abraham and his land. Here is the second explanation of the words after in chapter 6. There were giants in the earth before and after. This is the second influx. Okay, he preoccupies the territory ready to dispute. The advance of the Canaanite was then being already there. The progeny of the later attempt to corrupt the race had to be destroyed by the sword of Israel, as those in the days of Noah in the flood. So then you go into, you know, Joshua and Kings and Samuel, and it really talks about these wars. I mean, they really happened. Okay, and Abram journeyed going on still toward the south. Okay, so here is an attack. Here is an initial attack, an attack of Satan. In verse 10, and there was a famine in the land, and Abram went down into Egypt to sojourn there, for the famine was grievous. So, I mean, if you look at what's going on now, there is going to be a type of famine. It isn't really because there's lack of food. But this disruption in the food chain, um, unable to be delivered, not and it goes down to cars, this security system, down to, you know, you have smart type of equipment and these chips. I mean, it was a created thing. You know, they already had this planned, but we already know this now, so we'll be prepared, but many people won't be. And it came to pass when he was come near to enter into Egypt, that he said unto Sarai his wife, Behold now, I know that thou art a fair woman to look upon. You have to remember that nobody was perfect except for Christ. And so you see a lot of dumb moves. And it just, I hope it reassures you that it's like God understands you. He knows you probably do something dumb, but just rely on Him. I mean, instead of relying on God, he thought to himself, well, I'm going to say and do this. Therefore, it come to pass when the Egyptians see thee, that they shall say, This is his wife, and they will kill me, but they will save thee alive. So he's trying to protect his life. Say, I pray thee, thou art my sister, that it may be well with me for thy sake, and my soul shall live because of thee. And when we go on, you'll see that Isaac did the same exact thing, except for to another area. So it's kind of interesting. Isaac is an interesting character. And it came to pass that when Abram was come into Egypt, the Egyptians beheld the woman, that she was fair. The princess also of Pharaoh saw her, and commended her before Pharaoh, and the woman was taken into Pharaoh's house. And he entreated Abram well for her sake, and he had sheep and oxen, and he asses, and men servants and maid servants, and sheep asses and camels. They, you know, it's important to understand that at this point they didn't have horses yet. So they utilized the donkeys and the camels. And the Lord plagued Pharaoh. And they were, you know, they were pretty smart. I mean, they knew when something bad happened, you know, things weren't going well, that there's a plague coming. Like, I think, like most people today are really unaware of even their spiritual self. And so when these things start happening, they're not even going to understand it. And his house with great plagues because of Sarai, Abram's wife. And Pharaoh called Abram and said, What is this that thou hast done unto me? Why didst thou not tell me that she was thy wife? Think about how embarrassing that would be too. It's like, uh-oh. Why sayest thou, She is my sister, so I might have taken her to me, my wife? Now therefore, behold thy wife, take her and go thy way. So they just like shove him out, like, you put these curses on me because of you. And, you know, it just didn't go well. So it's like God is always going to protect you and take care of you, regardless of what you're thinking. You know, rely on Him. Ask Him before you do anything, what do I need to do? And He will show you the way. And Pharaoh commanded his men concerning him, and they sent him away, and his wife, and all that he had. So, well, we could go to 13. I find it really interesting to go through these characters, because really you can see yourself in some of these people. And God doesn't expect a perfect person. You know, in times, you will be relying more on him than yourself than you've ever been before. And by the time this is all over, you, it'll be amazing when you really like just look back. You know, even if you look back at your life right now, look back at all that weirdness. Like, why? It's all preparing. It's all preparing you in ways that you will need to be prepared. Okay, and Abram went up, this is out of Palestine, out of Egypt, he and his wife and all that he had, and Lot with him into the south. This is south of Judah, where they had settled over there. And Abram was very rich in cattle, and in silver, and in gold. And most of the silver was found in Egypt, so it just says that he was in both areas. And he went on his journey from the south even to Bethel, unto the place where his tent had been at the beginning, between Bethel and Hai. So he went back to where he started. Unto the place of the altar which he had made there at the first, before he left. And there Abram called on the name of the Lord. So, it's really what you have to just keep thinking. What I saw is just constantly, especially before that sow time, just because people are going to change. People are going to really come to you asking questions and things like that. You're planting seeds, but it is a constant, like, talking to God, not just like, not like in your mind, really meditating on it. And Lot also went, which went with Abram, and had flocks and herds and tents. Okay. So Lot had a few issues with himself too. So, we're just not perfect, really. And the land was not able to bear them, that they might dwell together, for their substance was great, so that they could not dwell together. So God had really blessed them and really enlarged them. And so now it's like, well, we gotta part ways, because we're fighting the shepherds, and our goats are getting mixed up and things like that. And there was strife between the herdmen of Abram's cattle and the herdmen of Lot's cattle, and the Canaanite and the Perizzite dwelled then in the land. So, they had strife within themselves in their area, and then plus they had all these, they had the Canaanites, which had a slew of many different types of these hybrids. And then they had the Perizzites, which I'm not sure, let's see. They were just a type of a hybrid type, probably more from like Rapha, like the Raphium, was thought to be more of the angel himself, his name concluded onto the tribe itself. So some of these could be like from the actual angel's name. And Abram said unto Lot, let there be no strife, I pray thee, between me and thee, and between my herdmen and thy herdmen, for we be brothers, or brethren, your relatives, and you see a lot of in the end, your own family is gonna be probably the worst on you than anybody else. Is not the whole land before thee? Separate thyself, I pray thee, from me. If thou wilt take the left, you can have the first, then I will go to the right. And if thou depart to the right, then I will go to the left. And Lot lifted up his eyes and beheld all the plain of Jordan, like it was well watered everywhere before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, even as the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt, as thou comest unto Zoar. It was beautiful. It was well watered. Um, Lots of commerce going in there. Um, you had like the 5 cities in there. The most ones that we hear about is Sodom and Gomorrah. But there's been excavations and things like that of people going into that area, and there are still balls of that sulfur. You know, you can light a match and light that thing on fire. So when God destroyed it, it was destroyed, and nothing grows there. Then Lot chose him all the plain of Jordan, and Lot journeyed east, and they separated themselves the one from the other. So, you know, in his own eyes, not taking into account really what was down there, he just saw the land, and without consulting God, he's like, I'm going to take that. That looks like the best land out there. So he really made a mistake in that sense of, you know, really consult God before you make any decision. Abram dwelled in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelled in the cities of the plain, and pitched his tent towards Sodom. And you know what was going on there. There was perversions of all different kinds, and violence and murder and just horrible, horrible things. And I don't know, if it were me and I was like, had to go down there, I would have said, oh my gosh, I made a horrible mistake. But the men of Sodom were wicked and sinners before the Lord exceedingly. You know, in Christians, people of God just have a different demeanor. They, you know, they're strong people per se, but they just are different than from the world. And you can really notice that. And that divide, I mean, we can see it now with the left and right now. The left constantly attacking, and the right like, wait a minute. And this is kind of how it was here. And the Lord said unto Abram after that Lot was separated from him, lift up now thine eyes, and look from the place where thou art northward, excuse me, and southward, and eastward, and westward. So here God is talking to Abram now, and going, look at all this. This is yours. From all the land which thou seest, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed forever. And I will make thy seed as the dust of the earth. So all these 12 that came from this one came out, and, you know, we're not going to be there until the millennium, but that is our home, our land. This is where we're supposed to be. Not here, that is in the wilderness, but back there. So that if a man can number the dust of the earth, then shall thy seed also be numbered. And, you know, of course, you know, with like Sarah's unbelief, and, you know, them getting older and, you know, way past menopause type thing, she's, you know, she's like trying to direct Abraham, and she just kind of lost her belief. Well, then came Ishmael, and you get another type of people. Arise, walk through the land in the length of it, and in the breadth of it, for I will give it unto thee. Then Abram removed his tent, and came and dwelt in the plain of Mamre, which is Hebron, and built there an altar unto the Lord. So Hebron was the the name that kind of he named it later on. But at first, you know, all these places had already had names in them, like the Jebusites had named Jerusalem Jebus, which became Jerusalem with David. But these were strictly there to hinder the chosen people to live there, you know, and Satan making his own claim. Okay, I'm here, now get me out. There's all these giants, and you know that was no big deal for God, because he's like, get your sword and go. If I'm with you, who can be against you? And this is like at the end times as well. You know, we may not have the giants, but we have these people we have to face. We have, you know, all this discourse and things like that. It's just like, it's no big deal though. If you know where your mind is and set it, you're not going to have too big of a problem. It's just that psychological. And even when they went, you know, after they had gotten out of Egypt, even though God said, hey, you got it, just go in there and take it. And all the people were afraid, you know. But we're not going to. We're preparing. We know what we face, and it's not going to be, I mean, I guess it would be hard for someone who isn't studying, who doesn't know, you know what I mean? If you're like a Christian in one of those 5 churches and you just don't know what to expect, and it's kind of complete chaos. But like with us, we're just going down that road, learning examples, gaining our faith, and just knowing God's in control, and he's not going to let anything happen to you, you know. The 7,000, that is the pupil of his eye. Don't poke God's eyes, you know what I mean? That will really get God down here. Let's see. Yeah, say hi to everybody. JD and Roxanne and Paul. Let's see. And Love Life All You Can. Welcome back. Looks like you're in the group. Let's see. And Deb is here. How's your back, Deb? You doing better? Let's see. Let's see. Oh, here it is. Following my Lord, thank you. A little tired today. Well, I guess that would be to be expected. That's a lot to go through. Let's see. Hey, Judith, welcome back. I hope you're doing okay over there where you're at and getting settled somewhere. And mind for knowledge. I didn't see Eagle. Was Eagle in here? So there were indeed giants in Sodom. There were probably giants, but most of the mix was the fallen angels. And so when the angels did come in to get Lot and his family, that's why they wanted the angels to have sex with them. That's not a good idea. They're like, oh no, no. And it's kind of sad that Lot, like, here, have my daughters, you know? It's like, it's just crazy. I mean, when you get like confused and mixed up and you're just like, you just got to remember, keep your head, common sense, and remember what you learned. You know, these are all examples. We're going to have these fallen angels down here again, you know. Whether we speak directly to them, we probably will when we're delivered up. No eagle today. Hey, Daniel. So, I don't know. You know what? I could read one more. There are Nephilim here today. There are because you look at Cain and the Kenites. Definitely. They will be here in the future. That is why Paul tells women to keep their heads covered. Yep, exactly. And, like these religious people try to make it, well, you need to have a veil over your head or grow your hair out long or whatever. It's not talking about that. So, this is a really interesting story. So I'm going to go and read on to 14. Because this is just kind of, dealing with these people. So, Genesis 14. And it came to pass in the days of Amraphel, king of Shinar, that's Babylon, Arioch, king of Elasar, Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of nations. So, in the days, these are dated in the reign of a king of Babylon that united forces led by a king Elam. The Assyrian tablets show that Elam had conquered and overrun Babylonia. Amraphel resigned in North Shinar. Arioch, and Elamite prince in the south at Larsa or Elasar. All the names here are found on one tablet. So Amraphel, on the Hammurabi of the tablets, that's what he was named. Amaraphel is Amraphel transliterated. So if you have like the companion King James Bible, it's really, you can really get deeper into it, and it just direct access. Arioch of the tablets, in which is found that his mother was a sister to Chedorlaomer, and Chedorlaomer, the Kurder Lagumal of the tablets. Okay. It just keeps going down here, but the tablet says on the nations, he assembled the Umanda, or the barbarian tribes of the Kurdish mountains, and that he did evil to the land of Baal. So Babylonian in that area, they were Baal worshippers. The Assyrian tablets are therefore shown to be correct by their agreement with Genesis. So it's just these conglomerate types of kings together in this area. Okay, verse 2. That these made war with Barak, king of Sodom, and with Bersha, king of Gomorrah, Shinab, king of Admah, and Shemember, king of Zeboam, and the king of Bela, which is Zor. All these were joined together in the vale of Siddim. Let's see. It has something with Siddim here. Okay. So this is like the veil afterward, the Salt or Dead Sea, when Moses wrote the Siddim. So when he wrote that out, that's... So everything has history, honestly. I mean, even this land, this earth is way over 7,000 years old. There's ancient things on this land. Okay, so 12 years they served Chedorlaomer, and in the 13th year they rebelled. All right. And in the 14th year came Chedorlaomer and the kings that were with him, and smote the Raphaims. And these are a branch of Nephilim, the Rapha, known as being superhuman. Like, could you imagine watching those wars? I mean, we have like depictions as far as, you know, the Titans in movies and things like that to actually see that. Okay, the Raphaims in Ashtaroth, Carnamine, and the Zuzims in Ham, and the Emins in the Shava Carithium. It's just weird stuff. And the Horites in their Mount Seir unto Alparam, which is by the wilderness. And they returned and came to Anamisphot, and which is in Kadesh, and smote all the country, or the whole field in their area, of the Amalekites and the Amorites that dwelt in Hazazon Tamar. You know, I mean, with them always fighting and things like that and killing each other, you know, Israel, when they came in, I mean, maybe a lot of them was already smoked because they killed each other anyway. And there went out the king of Sodom, and the king of Gomorrah, and the king of Admah, and the king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, is the same as Zor, and they joined battle with them in the Vale of Siddim. So this is by the Dead Sea area. And this takes it up to the present. So kind of before was history, and now it's becoming the present. With Chedorlaomer, the king of Elam, and with title king of nations, and Amphraphel, king of Shinar, and the Arioch, king of Elasar. 4 kings and with 5. So they came up against each other. You had the 4 and the 5. And the value of the Vale of Siddim was full of slime pits. Remember in the Tower of Babel, this is the same thing that was used to build the tower that they had to, you know, it's just like mortar. And the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled and fell there, and they had remained, fled in the mountain. So they died there. I mean, it would be, have they found giants there and things like that? These giants died all over the place. There has to be more bones that, you know, that we aren't shown, but we know this stuff happened. I mean, it would be fun to be just an archaeologist, just to go out there. And they took all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah and all their victuals and went their way. And they took Lot, Abram's brother's son, who dwelt in Sodom, and his goods, and they departed. So they raided him and they took him. Now Abram's going to find out about this. And there came one that had escaped and told Abram the Hebrew, for Abram dwelt in the plain of Mamre, the Amorite, brother of Eshcol, and the brother of Aner, and these were the confederate with Abram. So he dwelt in that land, and there was peace in that land for him. And you know, so if you have God with you and you really put him first, he's going to make sure that you're going to be okay. And when Abram heard that his brother, or his nephew, was taken captive, he armed his trained servants, born in his own house, 318, and pursued them into Dan. Okay, this is a city north of Palestine. And he divided himself against them. he and his servants by night, and smote them, and pursued them into Hobah, which is on the left hand of Damascus. And he brought back all the goods, and also brought again his brother Lot, and his goods, and the women also, and the people. And the king of Sodom went out to meet him after his return from the slaughter of Chedorlaomer, and the kings that were with him at the valley of Shaveh, which is the king's dale. And Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine, and he was the priest of the Most High. Okay, this was a type to whom all shall bow in Psalms 110:4 and pay their tithes and bring their gifts. So this was the priest of the Most High. So he was a priest for that. And he blessed him and said, Blessed be Abram of the Most High God, possessor of heaven and earth. And blessed be the Most High God, which hath delivered thine enemies into thy hand. And he, Abram, gave him, the priest, tithes of all. And the king of Sodom said unto Abram, Give me the persons, and take the goods to thyself. So the persons, the nephesh, the souls of those people that he had held captive. And Abram said to the king of Sodom, I have lifted mine hand unto the Lord, the Most High God, the possessor of heaven and earth, that I will not take from a thread even to a shoe latchet, and that I will not take anything that is thine, lest thou shouldest say, I have made Abraham rich. So, even in that, it was like he wanted to make sure that people knew his blessings came from God. Save only that which the young men have eaten, and the portion of the men which went with me, Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre, let them take their portion. So, like, in these end times, we're gonna see some very strange things, go through some strange things. That's why it's good to, like, read the Old Testament, because that's what's coming up. The old ending in this, like how it had started. And, you're going to have angels talking to you. You're going to be led by them and just shown things. And, it is going to be so far removed from this society type of the way how people think of vanity, and how this never ending, and it's always going to be as be, and, this whole thing about Christ returning, and people saying, well, he's been saying that forever and still hasn't come back. But you're in the know. That's the good thing about that. You know that you know. Okay, that box, what brought about Noah's flood. God destroyed, yeah. And just like that time, those 7,000, that first influx and the second, there's 7,000 of them. That's why they're coming down here. 7,000, and then you're going to have the kings. There's 10 supernatural kings. It's just, you're not even going to recognize what even we have today. You may be blessed to have your own house at that point, but, it's more like going where you're supposed to go, doing what you're supposed to do. And what I saw was God dividing his people. He had shown me all this destruction and this thing coming over, and I was just stunned. And he lifted up my chin, and I looked up at him, and he said, "I'm not mad at you, you know?" And then he divided us up. He divided those going with Satan and those who don't. And he put all those up on this mountain. It had a meadow, and it had white stones, and it was beautiful. It was more like a pep talk type thing until we went back down. And I remember walking back into civilization type thing. And at first, people, they didn't really look at me that much or anything like that. But then I got these stalkers kind of watching, They'll have you pinned too. I mean, people will be watching you because we're going to be with the Lord at that point. I mean, I believe that we'll be in there consoling with Christ himself and coming back down. We might be all shiny, sparkly, who knows, but we'll have a different countenance, and you can really tell, you can tell someone who has learned or who isn't, just by the words that they say, and they'll be, the Christ is here, and you're like, yeah, well, he will be coming, but the fallen angels, and they'll all be wearing those white robes, looking all heavenly, and and they'll just, these people around us, why don't you believe? Look, they're supernatural beings, and you're just, I'm just, I think it would be harder to, rather than going through this, I think it would be harder to be deceived by Satan. That would be like the worst punishment, rather than going through this and standing up. But it's all, it's all a slippery slope. So in the end, we'll get our just rewards. Remember that. It's all waiting for you. And while I was walking through the town, it was like the angels were following me, the good ones. And they were like cheering me on, going, "You can do it. This is the last bit. That's it. You can do it. It's all worth it." And Christ even told me that. And the angel that was with Christ was like, "Look, we fixed everything for you at this point. We made it easier so you can do it. You can do it. It is so worth it." So just remember that you'll have angels around you helping you too. Whether you see them with your eyes, I don't know, but probably not, but maybe. It's going to be in biblical proportions. So it is going to be really cool. Let's see, aren't the Raphium the next generation of hybrids and humans? Yeah, we will get further into the Raphiums and the different kinds. But even in there, in that, so the 14th chapter, it speaks of them. Let's see, my understanding is the Nephilim are the original children of the union between fallen angels and women. They were the largest descendants. The word Nephilim means giant. Yeah. Well, see, the Companion Bible kind of confuses people because it says that these are the Nephilim were giants, are giants, and they just call like the sons of God the angels. But Nephilim means to fall. So I don't, as long as you understand what they were and who did it, But I hear both. I hear people calling the giants Nephilim. I used to call them Nephilim, but they're both fallen. They're both, They both have big problems, and the Raphaim are called the dead. The dead. And like a lot of these things, when we were going through the appendix, they have lots of different names. So as you go in and you're reading, through the Old Testament, it's just like these things were everywhere. They were like pests. I mean, when Satan does something, it's just like he makes it obvious. It was pure evil crazy back then, kind of like 2020. Yeah, just think. Love life all you can. Just think of us being in there and being like Abraham. Being like that, but the very elect who get through it and standing for something. And what can you say? We were chosen, which is, it's an honor. It really is. But we'll witness a lot and we'll have a lot of help. I mean, I need to stress that too. You're going to have a lot of help. So just remember, take everything up to God first, and He'll lead and guide your way. Don't try to be like when Abraham and Sarah were going into Egypt. Well, we'll do it our way. And then they ended up getting kicked out. And they could have stayed there, I don't know. But another question, it snowed today. Watching the falling white flakes fall brought to mind what the falling black ash might look like. Yes, it looks like a blizzard, but it's black. It just comes down. And when you're in a blizzard, I put my hand out in front of my face and I couldn't see my hand. And that stuff, when that falls down, it just soaks into your spirit, and you don't want to be out there. And when that blizzard starts, the people that are with me, they weren't there right at that time, but when that hit, boom, they came in. We were all ready. So you guys will be all set. You'll be ready for your area, and just wait it out. It's just weird. And as we get closer to this, I mean, there's going to be a lot more understanding and revealing of it. I mean, right now we're kind of like in boot camp training. Let's see, that which has been is that which will be again, and that which has been done is that which will be done again. So there is nothing new under the sun. Yeah, there's this crazy stuff about like the Argonauts, Jason and the Argonauts, and these artifacts that were found, these giant feet, and they're of stone, of course, now, but it looked like they were part flesh but mechanical all at the same time. I mean, look at the AI going on now. How, you know what I mean? And they use these tyrants, these big types of robots to do things, to fight for them and to guard places. I mean, there is just so many crazy things out there, but it's all coming back. That's what I was telling you about the AI and all the technology and things like that. It's all it'll all come out. And when it does, it's going to shock a lot of people. And we'll just be going, oh my gosh. It'll be awesome though. Nothing to worry about. Like I said, we're in boot training now. Let's see, I wondered if when he said given in marriage, he means the act of marriage because of what Daniel says. Okay, the book of the Bible, not Daniel in this group. Given in marriage. Hey, baby. Yeah, there are so many just intriguing things. Just intriguing things you could just, I mean, I could read all day and read all night and I'd still just be like, ah, I need more. And that's the cool thing about the millennium, because we really get to read and understand more. Let's see. When I heard about the northeaster blizzard coming, I thought about Christy's vision she talked about last week. Yep, that it does. It resembles snowflakes, but it's black, and when it comes down, it blows down like that, you know. But it's really, really thick. And before that, it comes in that blizzard state. You have the other three states, which it begins really the after the earthquake, the Pacific Northwest earthquake, and then it just goes in as the war begins. It starts the next stage, and then like around that Christmas time, it's the third stage. And you know, that's after the war, but the Pope is out, and he's more or less the leader. We don't really have presidents anymore. We may have representatives, but it's like Pope is the leader. And then after that, the blizzard hits. But we'll be ready. I mean, we will all be ready. The people that were with me were all ready. Everybody understood what was coming. So it's just after that earthquake, everything's going to change. And just know that, you know, it won't come back. What are you doing? No. The cat is attacking my arm. Let's see. Aw, thank you. Yes, Love Christy is very knowledgeable, and also most people in this group are too. Yes, we are all very knowledgeable, so we're putting our minds together, and we're actually doing some very good work here. And it's good that we're doing this just so that we can plant seeds and we understand, you know. And it's more exciting doing it this way than reading alone and just like, God, I'd love to tell someone about this, you know what I mean? Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, Yalissa's here. Hi, Yalissa. But, it is, okay, Christy, in Matthew 24:38 regarding marriage, it is literal or referencing production. I don't know. I will have to look at that because I need to look like at the whole thing there. Is it literal or referencing production purposes? Yeah, I'll have to look at that. Kind of hard to tell with just like just my memory. Hey, baby. Okay, guys. Oh, she got me again. Stop. Okay. It says giving and taking in marriage. Yeah, okay. That means, if I'm thinking about the same thing, it means like giving and taking in marriage, there is no more of that. Like when, like your husband, you and your husband, when the millennium begins, he will go back to his family and you will have your house in the millennium in the 7,000 area place. So whether he can go back there or not, but you'll be more like friends. But you'll have the children. I'm sure your children will want to live with you. And I think that's kind of a personal choice for the kids where they want to end up at. And I'm trying to think, I don't know if I saw Sophie. I saw Candace. So I'm hoping that, you know, Sophie will be able to come and stay at the mansion. No, in reference to the Nephilim, giving and taking in marriage. Well, like back in Genesis, they took whoever they saw. So I think it might have even been by force. I don't know. Ah, the cat. Don't. If you want to sit there, be nice. Let's see. Oh, we got more in here. Well, see, we are armed and ready. Wipe out all the bad people. I'm gonna have to look at that. So 2438. I don't have anything to write that down. Matthew 24:38. Okay, guys. Well, we'll be back tomorrow, same time, same channel, and we'll just continue on and just looking at the examples as it's going to be biblical proportions. So we need to get ready for this. Connect with Daniel 2. Okay. All right, guys. Ah, she did it again. Don't do that, kitty. Okay, I will see you guys tomorrow. Ooh, it's snowing. I wish it would snow here. Ah, oh well. It might, though. Could be that really cold winter that you know that cold winter comes with. So, see you guys tomorrow. Take care and God bless.